And that music gets me every time, gets me juiced up. So we're back here at 15 Perry Street in Noonan and in the studio with my sidekick, Paul Martinez.
Hey, everybody.
And if you're not already supporting us out there on patreon.com, make sure to go out to that website if you enjoy the content and the show and become a donor there and support it by whatever means you can. And we certainly would appreciate it. That helps us do that. And again, you can go to patreon.com/mentors, the number 4 MIL. So we have a special guest with us who's back. And actually, we got a lot of great feedback the last time you were on, Jason. So thanks so much for coming back, and I really appreciate you coming on.
No, I appreciate you guys having me, man. I was pretty excited when Paul called me and asked me to come back again. I was like, yeah, I'll do it for sure. I appreciate you.
Yeah, so I'm very curious. So first off, I totally screwed up, and I gave you an Instagram promotion.
Oh, yeah, I heard that. Instantly.
So I think a lot of people probably did reach out to you and say, hey, man, congratulations on being Sergeant Major. And
yeah, and, you know, it's always sending that text back like, well, I appreciate it, man. But, because they start off like, hey, you know, I always knew you were going to do it, man. Hey, congratulations, you know, super awesome, so on and so forth. And you're like, yeah, thanks. but I'm still E8.
It's funny.
I think you should go in and just say it's on social media. It's official.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's on Facebook,
Right.
it definitely is, right?
Yeah,
Facebook
absolutely.
official.
Once you announce it,
Sergeant Major Belford.
you just got to get the pay. Go ahead and pin it on.
I like the sound of it. I mean, the Army would just pick it up. I think it would be good.
That would be really good. Pay-wise, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Pay-wise. But you probably received some other comments and feedback as well. So I'm really kind of curious to know, outside of the promotion, which was totally my bad, I sat there and was fat fingering and trying to do it like at 7 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, I don't know what I was thinking. And I typed it out and I pushed send and it was out there. And then I went back and looked at it. I don't think you even reached out to me or Paul did. I can't remember how it went down. But
I might have said something to you.
Yeah.
I think I saw it first. But that happens all the time. Like anytime I do a bio or I tell somebody who I am, they always put an extra S in staff sergeant or, you know, whatever.
Like sometimes I join the Air Force by sometimes telling people my rate.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, outside of that, what kind of other feedback did you get? I'm curious.
You know, it was overwhelming. Actually, well, when it first posted, probably the first day, my son was. I don't have any social media, you know, myself, and my son was like taking little snapshots of comments and stuff people were posting, and it was funny to read some of them, you know, and then it was good to get that feedback, and you're like, wow. Because you don't think that like what you have to say really means much, you know. I'm just like, it's just my like redneck snorri here, and here I am, and I did it again, I guess. And you know, when you guys first asked me to come on the show, I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I'll tell them who I am. And, you know, after the show, you know, people were like, wow, man, like your story, you know, really, you know, inspired me. Or, you know, I had those texts and those emails, and I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. And I had a couple officers come up to me and be like, hey, First Sergeant, like your podcast is going to change people's lives.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I think they're right. I agree with that assessment.
And he was, you know, I was like, you know, taken back by that. And he's like, and I was like, I don't understand what you mean, sir. And he's like, you know, what it took to get on a show like that and say like, hey, I could barely read till I was 20. You know, you know, I failed the ASVAB and all these tests, and I pretty much sucked all the way until now, and you know, I'm still sucking, but I'm doing the best I can at it. You know, when people think about, you know, they look at your positions and stuff, they think about, wow, look how successful that person is, and they don't see all the other stuff that you just laid out on the line for people. And
we talked about that too afterwards. We're like, you know, talk about some people, we get them on here and they're just have that blessed career where they pass every gate first time. They just true blue all the way to wherever they decide to finish up. But we were both kind of like, man, Belford has failed a ton and just kept going and just kept striving and being tenacious. And I think that's important, man. It's so easy to, you know, you fail once, you think, oh, this isn't for me. And you've just failed like the most important part of selection, which is, you know, deselecting yourself.
Well, I mean, how many people though look at? We were talking about this last night off, my house and everything about social media, and people don't realize just how fake that is. I mean, I think they realize it. Maybe that's a wrong statement, but they forget at times. So they look at it and they see people having this good time. Maybe they look like they're in a happy relationship, or like you said, they made it all the way through. Look at me. I did all these great things. I was a Green Beret. I was a Ranger. I was a PJ, or I was just, an E8 or whatever. And they don't know the backstory. And Chris Van Sant and I did a podcast around this about don't judge a book by its cover, because you can also go the opposite direction where you look at things on social media, or you meet somebody and you look at their chest and you size them up rather quickly, and you don't realize all the things that got them to that point, or why there may be a reason why they don't have jump wings, or they don't have a Ranger tab, or they don't, there's a story probably there.
Yeah, there always is a story. And, for the longest time, I judged, be like, oh, that guy's not going to be a good leader, don't have a Ranger tab, or that guy doesn't have a CIB or whatever. I was, a young Ranger, and that's how you identified everything. You're like, no Ranger tab, no thanks. Yeah. But when you grow, and I've heard some, like, everybody says you don't have a tab, you got a story, right? Well, some stories are like, well, that's a great reason not to have a tab. I've know dudes that one guy talked to a couple years ago. He was airborne, and 3 times he jumped in. He went to Ranger School 3 different times, and then 3 times he jumped in Ranger School. He broke his leg every time.
Wow,
pretty good reason.
I'm not going back for it. You know what I mean? Like, somebody.
Could you give me an air land waiver?
Yeah, like maybe don't put the I'm not airborne qualified on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Change your identifier.
But that he was a great guy. He was an awesome instructor, and I learned a ton from him, and that changed perspective, and that gives and that's why I say when people look at my uniform, they're like, holy shit, and I'm like, yeah, but let me tell you though, everybody, and I'll get this out there right up front, because everybody always sees my free fall wings, and they're like, wow, and I'm like, it was awesome, and the course itself was great, and all the things that come with it, and free fall jump master was super hard. I can barely count to 10, and you got to do everything with a map and a 3-foot ruler, and I was like, well, as big as this table, and the work I had to put into that every single day was super hard, but that doesn't mean that I'm the greatest free fall jump master because I passed a 3-week course. You know what I mean? I probably pulled 50, 60 duties now as a free fall jam. And I'll be honest to tell you, I'm a okay jumper at best and a decent free fall jump master at best. But if I had, several guys and I could go down the list to pick before me to be your PJ on that, I'd be like, yeah, or Major Young, that's who I'm picking. Yeah. So don't, judge a book by its cover. Like, just because the guy's wearing it or not wearing it doesn't mean he's the best at what he did. It means he was able to, the grind, and figure it out.
I think we get in trouble when you look at somebody and their military accolades and what they've accomplished, and you confuse the resume with the man. And I think that's because I can look at your uniform and see where you've been and what you've done, and it's impressive, but that doesn't show the struggles behind that. It doesn't show what happens behind closed doors with your family, or just how hard it is. Studying. I remember Special Forces sniper course for me. Me and Stuart were up all night studying because we were the youngest guys in the course, and we're like, we got to pass this. We ended up doing very well because we studied so hard, but it wasn't like we just showed up, laid down behind the gun, and started cranking, the 10 ring.
Yeah.
It was a lot of math. It was a lot of him. He was a phenomenal shooter. He probably didn't need to study at all. He probably could have just gone through that class eating Twinkies and
that's how Pepper. When I went with Ben, when I went with Frazier, it was the same way. Like Ben just hooked his chains in and drug this plow for 9 straight weeks. Yep.
Well, he's super smart.
Super smart guy, and I was so thankful that I had that dude sitting to my left and studying with every night. And when they started teaching ballistics too, I was like, well, this is what sends me to the house, So, and then when we get on the range, once I figured the paper stuff out, like when I get on the range, like I was able to. I'm good with my hands.
Yeah,
I'll put
same.
bullets on target.
And when you have a smart spotter
And you
like
have-
we did,
Yeah,
it makes it a lot easier because they're doing the
tell
hard
me
work.
what to do.
As long as I can be a trigger pulling machine, and I don't screw that up. It's not too
I can go
bad,
through the
but-
basics of pulling the trigger. You just tell me where to put it and pull it. So.
But that's the thing. You think, okay, special forces sniper course or jump master guy, and they don't realize that, like, I had to be taught remedial math to do that.
Yeah, I had to literally learn how to do fractions again. That ain't even a joke.
I actually need to learn how to do fractions again as well.
Got to turn that microphone towards you a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's funny. We're
Cutting
talking.
in and out. I know. That's right. I'm doing the Joe Rogan here.
Now get your lips on the mic. Roger that, Robert.
I win this one.
Yeah, you do. That's an
inside joke.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're talking about like not knowing like the hard work you put into it or whatever. But just recently, I dealt with a situation that it was professional situation that I kind of took a little personal based off of like my background and my educational struggles and everything. And it's super hard, right? Because when I'm giving counselings and stuff and I'm talking to my Rangers, I'm like, so I have a professional and a personal, and those two lines run parallel to each other and they never cross. And I tell them that right up front in my counseling, and I'm like, because at the end of the day, like I love all of you guys equally, and we could be best friends, but the bigger picture is what the battalion's medal is, and what the regiments, what the armies, so it's super hard struggle whenever you've worked with people for years and you like have a bond with an individual, and you have to like separate that, especially especially whenever I'm in the position I'm in.
It's too odd. We were just talking about this last night.
And I've known those guys since we were young E5, E6s together, and E7. So, but for my own personal, I was in a kind of a situation, I wouldn't call it a situation, but I had dealt with something that I had to, I pride myself, and I have for years, on my military bearing. I've been put in bad situations where I'm like, just want to lose my military bearing. And I'm like, F you or whatever to whoever, and I never done it though. I've never had an insubordination to any senior that outranks me. And I pride myself on that. So I was put in this situation, and I had to take myself back, and think about like, hey, you pride yourself on this, like just let this situation unfold, and then we'll come back and revisit it. And that's what I did. So in the situation, I'll explain a little bit, was, I was given some constructive feedback, and I love constructive criticism. Like it's the only way you get better, and if you can't accept constructive criticism, I think I said this on the last time, like, you're just going to stay stagnant. You're going to be a one-legged duck, just going around in circles, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I love the feedback, but I felt like the feedback I got was a little more personal, right? But I know it was professional from who it came from, and it kind of rubbed me wrong because I felt like it was like, like I told you, I have atrocious emails, man. I'm still trying to figure out where to put the comma, dude. Like, it's just what it is, I'm sorry.
It's not all caps, though, right?
No, it's not all
Thank
caps.
God.
I'm still trying to figure out. I was like, I know that's a complete sentence. There's the period. So, and I probably use, basic 8th grade level words. But at this point in my life, like, I'm okay with that because I worked my ass off to get exactly where I'm at that point, right? So if I feel like that part is being, addressed, if you will, that almost comes off personal to me. If you haven't taken the time to like maybe know me, and where my struggles come from and where my like red line is. So like I said, that the individual is probably one of the most professional people I know. And I was the problem because I'm the one who took it personal. And I let it simmer for almost 5 days, and I hate animosity in the workplace. I hate like not feeling like I can be open with some, I don't like that. Like it's like I don't have a job, you know what I mean? I come here because I enjoy being here, and if I didn't, I would have gotten out a long time ago. So I don't like to foster that kind of environment, and I don't like to work in that type of environment. So I left that foster for about a week, and at the end of the week, I was in a little meeting with some individuals, and as we were leaving, I asked one individual, "Hey, can I talk to you offline for a few minutes? On some things that have been bothering me." And he's like, "Absolutely." So we go in the office and we have a conversation, and I was like, "Hey, I know this was meant professionally, but based off of like my background, like I've been to Barnes and Noble to learn, what a conjunction is and how to, read what an adverb and adjectives are at 4th grade level books, like I did that myself, so I could pass, so I could be better. And if you don't know me in that part of my story, like you would give me these type of corrections to make, right? Yeah. But knowing how hard I daily, you can ask my wife, like I'll ask her how to spell something and she'll give me like, "Hey, how would you spell it?" And it's just her making me better doing that.
Yeah.
And, or I'll be like, "Hey, read this." And I'll be like, and she'll make a correction, but she'll tell me what the correction was and be like, "This is why I corrected it." Right.
Yeah.
So knowing me, you wouldn't make these type of statements. And I felt like, so, I addressed it, and, he was very receptive to it. And he was like, he's like, "I'm super sorry. I never thought it came off that way, and we had a great outcome, great conversation. And I was like, this is how things are handled professionally, and if more people would be like, take that time, because when I react on my feelings and not my values, because my feelings tell me to say what I want right now, but if I take that tactical pause, like the email I sent you, and I act on my values, that allows me to have like a woosah moment, if you will.
Yeah. And there's a big distinction between feelings and values.
Oh, a
huge distinction. I mean, values, we're talking about that this morning. Values don't change. And if you have I think that's why they're so important. If you set your values, and you may have to adjust some as you learn more, that's your guide on how you're going to act and how you're going to behave. Your feelings are going to come and go. You can never really be in control of your feelings as they arise. You can only be in control of your reaction, but your values will guide that. And I think that's important. I think it's cool too. Like the lesson I'm taking from it is just admit your shortcomings. Because this guy's not wrong.
No, he's definitely not. He's 100% within his realm of saying that, and how he reads my emails and how they come across is exactly how he portrayed it, and in my maybe not so professional way to say things because I not have the education to say it at that level.
Right. But you being able to say that, now he knows better how to mentor you in that area.
Exactly.
More effectively, and now you're a better team.
Exactly.
But it's not because he did something, you went to him and said, "Hey, you hurt my feelings and this has made me mad." You went and addressed it like a man.
Yeah, you have to. And that's the thing that people aren't doing, and that's why, you wait till, command climate surveys, if you will, come out and you're like, "Holy cow, I didn't know we missed all these marks," and, it could be handled with approachability. And if you feel like, you open your door and you're an approachable leader, then if a situation like that arises, like it did with me, then you'll feel like you have the ability to talk that out and settle the differences. And he's not going to change his direction for me. And that's not the key to the conversation. The understanding is the reason of the conversation. Like, this is how I'm feeling right now. I just want you to know, like, that, and this is why it felt that way. Mm-hmm. I agree with your assessments. Yes, I need to be better at sending my ridiculous emails. I need all these developmental parts to be a more rounded speaker in a bigger population or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, those are still his counseling to me, right? Which is fine.
Yeah.
And, just as long as he understood that I understand your counselings, but hey, by the way, I continue to work on these every day before you say these counselings. And
well, sometimes it's important to do that too, because it's like, whereas if you're coming up a little short, why is that? I think a lot of people jump right to, well, maybe you're not putting enough effort in, or you're not good enough, or whatever it is. And most of the time it's not personal, but knowing where that person's coming from and identifying what that struggle is or that deficiency is.
Well, we changed so much. I mean, back in the day, email is now a strong form of communication. I mean, it's just what it is. It became very, very popular and a means by which people can communicate without having to get up out of their cube and go someplace. I mean, geez, there's places in offices where I'm not me personally, but I'm emailing you and you're literally one cube over, where I could just get up, walk over there and have a conversation with you.
Skype is the worst thing.
And so I feel like back in the day when you had a typewriter and you had to write a memo out, you probably would have other people review it. There would be a lot more that went into that document that before it left that office and went some
pen.
Yeah, right. So multiple layers of administrative people that would, evaluate it, change punctuality, or in some situations you were high enough where you had an administrative assistant and you would dictate, and that person had all that schooling and would put all that into the writing and make sure that it was set up using shorthand, right?
I'm not there yet.
But today we're, as a form of communication, the most impersonal thing that's out there is the email. And people can misinterpret because they hang on every word. Oh, he didn't use an explanation point.
I think text messages like that too.
Oh, yeah.
Most definitely.
So bad at conveying nuance.
Yeah.
And
my wife,
subtlety.
We talk about not just work, we're talking about life in general. My wife, I'm a texter, I'm a texter because I'm busy. I'm a texter because I'm not a huge conversational piece, I'm a texter. So my wife will be like, stop texting and call me.
Yeah.
Because she's like, and she's blunt about it. She's like, texting is a communication. I'm sorry to tell you, I know you wouldn't want it to be, but it's not. Yeah. So call me and let's have an adult conversation. So I'm like, ugh.
Well, how many times do you see text messages going now into emails? Basically, the people are so concerned about how you're going to receive it. So I put the explanation point and put the LOL afterwards, and you know what I mean?
I read. Yeah. So to be upfront, like my emails are not that good, and I have my Ranger buddies read them, be like, hey, sir, you need to read this before I send it. It's going to everybody. But I, I'm not completely a moron most of the time, but I do my best. But I have read emails and I have read papers. We actually, for punishment, if you will, somebody had to write we had a kid had to write like a 5-page paper of why he shouldn't do those things. And obviously with somebody with my educational background, right, has no way job like pointing out those are that's misspelled or that's wrong or who would say that, right? I'm definitely not that guy. But when I'm reading a 5-page paper that's written like a text that has, like you said, LOL in it, BRB, wow. BRB, like I was like, is this for real? Wow. And I kept it. But that goes in the pull out whenever I'm an old man, and read that and laugh. But it was just, and it's not laughing at like the individual, right? Let's make that clear. It's the way we communicate. We think that if we're doing that in a text message, that's how we need to write in a paper, or how we need to, send an email. And I'm glad to say I'm not that bad, but it still is a problem, and the way we're communicating with text messages and Skyping and
we do Teams, Microsoft Teams,
or any of those things,
Zoom or whatever.
Because we call it shorthand when you're writing it, right? Now, but now it's really shorthand whenever you're texting.
Well, and then you throw some emojis in the mix.
You got to.
I mean,
People will receive that and they're like, wait, that didn't have an explanation point back behind it. It had a period. Did he mean,
no question mark?
It's really interesting.
It's
right. Yeah.
But a little bit, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the change, like the lackadaisical nature of communication. I like that it's effective and I like that it's available to us, but.
So for me at work, and this is just me, and I'll tell my ranger buddy this all the time, and I'll be like, "Hey, sir, I'm about to go do my walk around," and at like 50, as long as there's not every dumpster fire burning, I try to by 15:30 go walk around all my shops and get that face-to-face time with those leaders and just the guys in general. Like, hey, how was your day? How'd things go? Like, what can I help you with, and where can I deflect? And I try to do that every day. Sometimes I don't get to do it every day, obviously, but at the end of the day, like I try to.
I'm going to ask, man. I'm going to ask the guys. Like, he said he was going to be here every day.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, man, haven't seen him in weeks.
But you could definitely ask them, and they'd tell you that I come around all the time to the shops, and not to like hound them or any of those things, just more like questions like, hey, where can I help, and where can I be more of assistance to you? So, one, probably because I'm not really good at sending good emails, and two, because I think I want that type of leadership as well. So I want to give it. So
that makes you more approachable. You're not just the old man in the office that you got to go see when you're in trouble. So like that familiarity is probably really good for your younger guys if they.
And outside of the approachability thing, we were talking about like when we first started this. What do we get from that last podcast, right? And what did people say? I had a ton of people come, like my open door policy, if you will. Like they stop in and be like, "Hey, First Sergeant, you got a minute?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, man, come on in." And the approachability like went way up based off the fact that I think they understand, like, "Hey, I'm just
you're real."
I'm going to tell you the truth, and I want to help you. And I don't have all the answers, but together we'll do what we can to get them for you and your family. So
maybe for them that was kind of separated the man from the resume, because it's easy for your subordinate to look up and just see, the badges and
they don't know you otherwise, right? They see you walk in the halls, they see you out in the field or whatever the case may be, and that's First Sergeant, the whole thing, and then all of a sudden, they're gifted with the opportunity to get inside your head and learn your story. Then it's like, oh man, all right, now I totally get it. Not only that, but there's probably a lot more respect. Like you had heard where you were very vulnerable. You put yourself out there and you didn't care about how that might be received. You did, obviously you care, but you know what I mean? It's
a negative. I didn't care about it being negative inside for people.
Yeah. So, people embrace that. They saw that as, wow, I can respect that. A lot of them may not be willing to do it themselves.
Well, yeah, but I think most people wouldn't be. But and hopefully, my hope always is that somebody who's not quite on, they're halfway down the path that you've taken and they're feeling discouraged because maybe they, didn't do so well at a school or whatever, they're having personal problems. They can hear a story like yours and think, oh, okay, if I can pick myself up and figure out how to find the right support systems and how to improve, I can still accomplish that goal of being a Ranger First Sergeant or whatever their goal may be in the military. It's important to hear not just about the medals you win and the cool guy schools you get to go to and pass, but,
the support system is a big deal, and not just in the Army, but out too. If you have your family's at your support system, but I had a lifetime long friend, my brother, my little brother, Brandon, he's, my right-hand man outside the Army, the guy I call and complain to everything to, and he tells me to suck it up. And then my best friend, Chris Barty, like we've known each other since diapers, and he's a mountain of a man, and I mean that in every way of the word. Like he's 6'5", probably 240. It makes me look like a midget when I stand beside him, but he's that guy who's been there for me in every aspect of life, right through all the hardship stuff, and I probably wouldn't have made it very far in life without having Chris there pushing me. He was always awesome, and he still is. And when I was the best man at my son's wedding, I was like, I had to give my little speech or whatever. I told Chris, I was like, hey, you're going to come up here with me, dude, because you were there, from time I, was a little kid to now my kid, here, and I can't stand up there by myself because I wouldn't be here without you. So the support system matters, and like Dave, we talked about him last time, and then Marcus, and like I brought Havoc in here today.
Havoc's your service dog.
Yeah, Havoc's my service dog. Yeah, he was donated to me through an organization called Limitless K9.
Nice. How long have you had him?
I've had him for almost 3 years.
Beautiful dog.
What prompted you to get a service? Did you seek that out, or was that suggested to you, or was it a prescription?
No, and yes. I was having some issues, and we talked about some of those struggles in life, and at the time, and Dave was like, I want to do something for you, and we got hooked up with Marcus, and here's Havoc, and before Havoc, I had Rivet, and he was a little wilder.
Rivet was another service dog?
Yeah, he was
same dog, same kind.
Yeah. He was donated through Homefront K9, and he was a little more teenish acting type dog, and the wife went in the house, and he didn't follow her, and he ran off, and he ended up getting hit by a car. It's horrible. It was really bad. We struggled with that for a while, and then but Havoc, he's super awesome. Marcus, super awesome guy, and he keeps us in line with Havoc, comes and does like protection work and training, and then whatever we need, for like, hey, having this issue or whatever, like he'll come and correct it, or he'll come and help us show us how to correct it and those type of things. So super involved. Actually, his dog, Havoc's dad, is going to be on the new episode 4 of Yellowstone.
Oh, cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
Really?
I don't think you said what breed he is.
He's a Belgian Malinois.
Okay. So, I mean, those, for people who don't know, those dogs are usually pretty wired up,
Yeah, and most of them are, but Havoc is what I would, Marcus's dogs in general, but Havoc is one of a kind. He can be like this right here. He's laying there.
Mellow.
Yeah, mellow, and then he can work all day.
Yeah.
Whatever switch you turn on, he's able to do it, and that just shows to the training that Marcus was able to put into him. It's just amazing to watch him work. And like I said,
that's not usually the case. That's a rare, very rare exception.
Yeah,
so it speaks to his training, but also his breeding probably.
Yeah.
I think if you're out there and you're thinking about a Belgian Malinois, you need to talk to an experienced individual.
Yes.
It's not for the lay person, I think.
No, and we actually, my wife has another Belgian that we bought off of an individual that used to, Dondi.
Oh, okay.
He used to be a trainer in Regiment, and this was right after we lost Rivet, and my wife ran with Rivet all the time, and it was super hard, not to have that running partner whenever I was at work and stuff. So he's my service dog, but at the end of the day, like, he's there to protect the family. When I'm gone, like, trust me, we do some work with the dog. Like, nobody's coming in that house. And she kind of lost that with Rivet, so we bought one off Dondi. Mina is her name, and she lives it. But she's a great dog, but she's very timid towards my wife. Like she's like my wife's dog, period. Like if I get loud in the house, she will get loud at me. I'm like, oh, would you get that dog? Like,
yeah, you don't want to be on the wrong end of the
just joking over here. Get the dog. But we got the dog off of Dondi, and then we had Havoc from Marcus, and they do what nature does, and we tried to keep them apart, but they had a litter of 9, and we this speaks to like not everybody goes out and gets a Belgian Malinois, so I sold them for pennies on the dollar, like a grand a piece, which is like bottom dollar. But I was like, I'm not trying to make any money, just trying to get them sold, but I didn't sell them to just anybody though. We had to know the people. They were either Rangers or
someone you knew,
somebody that we knew that like what their lifestyle was, where they lived, how they worked out, like what they were going to be able to give to the dog.
Nobody that's going to be living in an apartment and
no, because I just didn't want to see one of our dogs go, to a place that they're not going to be well exercised, and they're going to be like, this dog's a nuisance, as opposed to like what it's supposed to be there for, and give you a little bit of comfort.
Yeah. I want to switch gears and talk back in the old days, because some of the comments, getting back to some of the comments on there, were guys where they remembered you from being a RASP instructor.
Yeah, I got some comments like that.
Yeah.
Oh, Sergeant Belford, he smoked my balls.
Yeah.
Crybaby.
Yeah, that was me. I tell dudes all the time, like, hey man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did the apology tour. I think I need to do one of those. But
I probably should.
When did that fall within your career? So, like, you were you came into the battalion much later, as we talked about on the episode. So you didn't grow up within battalion, and so when was it that you got asked to go be an instructor? Then
was that right out of snipers?
Yeah, I did like 4 deployments with us, and then. I was, they were like, do you want to go be a, they were like, they needed a recruiter, right? Me and Ben Durham.
I remember that.
Yeah, we worked out all the time together. He was like my fight promoter, if you will. And
he was part of the fight team.
Yeah. He was like the main fight club guy.
Yeah.
And so me and Ben were always together. And he was like, hey, I need an extra guy. And then I just re-enlisted for 6 years to do 9-month college options that they offered at the time. And Ben's like, yeah, let's do it. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll do it. It sounded great at first, I was like, oh, I get to fight all the time. It's like young me, not thinking about where I wanted to go right now. I was just thinking about the immediate, like,
the here and now. Yeah.
Get to train every day, get to fight every day. Yeah. How much better could it be? So I took that, and then after some thought, and funny, during that time, I'll take quick with the Pathfinder thing, I don't know if I told that last time, but so in that time there was, I got offered a Pathfinder slot, and Sergeant Major Messeline, he's retired now. We're good friends. We just did a fishing tournament. We didn't do too well, but we did it. It was fun. He's a really good fisherman. The fish weren't biting, but we're good friends now. But he had asked me multiple times, like, "Hey, come to Pathfinder, come to Pathfinder." I'm like, "No, I've got school. No thanks. I'll pass."
Yeah,
and then I basically got told I'm going to Pathfinder on like a Tuesday, and I was like, Roger Sergeant Major, by our Sergeant Major.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's going to be fun. And so I showed up, and it was like one of those, like, hey, if you fail, we're going to RFS you. And I was like, nobody gets RFS for failing Pathfinder.
What?
But
Yeah.
also, nobody turns down Pathfinder either. So
okay,
it was like Sergeant Major's gift to me. Sergeant Major Nolan's gift to me. He was like, yeah,
It's a cool badge.
if you fail Pathfinder, we're going to RFS you because you shouldn't have told them no all this for the last year. I'm like, oof.
okay.
Well, there's another struggle in life to get through. But no, it was cool. I made it. It was not easy, but I made it. I don't know how I made it.
How do you think that school stacks up to like RSLIC, Ranger, like some of the other ones you've been?
Completely.
As far as difficulty, like attrition rate.
opposite ends of the spear, because one's like, there's physical and the mental involved, and then Pathfinder's literally all mental, all brain. And I was like, I don't know how I made that.
Yeah.
Like, there's math problems. I don't even know what that kind of math problem was. I just learned how to do it right there in class.
Yeah. Yep.
But I was like, okay, yeah, that's what a formula is. Good. Roger that.
So a little closer to like sniper school or or mortar leader course or something.
It was hard. How do I get this many people on this drop zone? Can I get that many people on that drop zone? Can I get this aircraft with this many people on that drop zone? Like all those type of things. All these weird math problems I figured out. That's why I have the book. I started highlighting in the book when I first got there, like highlight this, highlight that, highlight this. And then I just stopped highlighting and memorized the book.
Yeah.
Each chapter at a time. One chapter, I was like, well, this is when I run out of highlighters.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no foot stomp because you have to memorize it all.
Okay.
But the good part about Pathfinder, if there was one, would be like, you don't have to see the other part again. So once I test out of like,
right.
Drop zones or whatever I'm testing out of, like I don't see that again
in the course.
Right. I can learn.
Okay. So you can devote all your
to the next
mental attention
chapter,
to
if you will.
Okay.
So that's good. But the Durham thing, I was going to be a recruiter or retention guy for Regiment, and I was like, man, maybe I don't want to do that so well. Brady Davis, Sergeant Major now, was like, maybe it's not like a career path you want to do. If you want to, that's fine. If you don't, there's another guy that wants to do it, which is Caffer, and he's crushing it now. But
awesome! I know he's still over there.
Cool. I was like, yeah, he can have it. But I was kind of like, okay, well, you're not going to do that job now, but we have to give an E6 to RSTC.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, good.
Yeah. So you get to go with it.
So I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll go over here and do this. So it was probably the funnest time I had in battalion, but I went kicking and screaming, and now I sing its praises to people. I'm like, hey man, if you want to go like do a cool job, rewarding such and such, I'm like, go be a RASP, go be a certain instructor, but like every E6, I was the same. I went kicking and screaming because I was like, I want to go kick indoors, not select privates that don't want to be here, whatever. And then be blamed for sending the wrong ones to the line. So, that's true.
Yeah. Like,
what are they doing
through?
over there now?
Yeah. Who was it? Oh, another one of his kids.
Who was your instructor? Yeah. Yeah. The whole gambit. So when I got to RASP, I had some awesome Ranger buddies I was there with. Sergeant Hill, Sergeant Sugimoto, Sergeant Martell, Sergeant Keene, Sergeant Major Paquette now. Like just
great guy. I love Paquette.
Yeah, Sergeant Houston. Like I had a bunch of like good dudes that were there with me, and we fed off each other, and we did at the time what they asked us to do. Assess and select. Through pain and repetition, and
that was kind of the beginning of RASP. It had just been rolled out.
Yeah, it hadn't been out long at all.
It transitioned from RIP
to RASP.
Yeah. What was the major transition there, besides just nomenclature?
Yeah, from a 4-week POI to an 8-week POI, to basically just RASP was like assess and select, like assess if you're physically good enough to be here, and you kind of fit what our culture might be. You're good, go. RASP is very I think it's a great program. We have the ability now. It's an 8-week program. We're assessing and selecting on multiple gamuts of like, hey, this guy's physically fit, but he maybe doesn't have the mental capacity to do this specific job.
Right.
But the good thing about RAS now, and we didn't do this when I was there, but Sergeant Major Donaldson, those guys have really brought it through fruition. But so if the guy doesn't like cut the mustard to be 11 Bravo, and he's not going to be a door kicker, or he appears on the bottom of the list, and now they offer him like, hey, do you want to reclass to parachute rigger or cook, or you've
Right.
passed our selection portion.
Yeah.
You have the ability to be
in battalion,
in
or
battalion
yeah.
and be a contributing member to the team. Maybe not in this capacity, but we would like to have you for this. And it's got a huge turnout rate for dudes.
Wow,
like,
I didn't know that.
yeah, it's an awesome idea. And
That's a great idea because you don't know anything when you join. You pick your MOS at the recruiter,
Yeah.
and it might be because you saw a video with dirt bikes like we did.
That's it.
And like, that looks cool.
yeah, let me do that.
But a lot of these guys, the only thing they want to do is be in regiment. They want to be in a battalion, being a ranger.
Well, and the lower density MOSs in battalion, those are awesome.
yeah.
I mean, that's a good living, and you get to
pretty
do
good
cool
living, yeah.
guy stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's not like you're missing out.
No, but to get the low density MOS guys from Fort Jackson and those
Right.
other places,
It's harder.
it is harder. Like,
Yeah.
They're
You're trying to convince a guy that went into an MOS because they wanted to go the easy life, and you're going to go, hey, sure you don't want to go over here?
sure you don't want a skull drag. Well, we'd love to have you.
Yeah,
Right.
When they're like you're at the top of the heap because you're in a low density MOS and you're a PT stud and you're smart, whatever. Do you want to continue to do that, or you can go where it's a big fish pond kind of thing,
Right.
or we'll dump you in the ocean and
Take a swim.
maybe you're not as special
Yeah, and
right out of the gate.
when they started that program, it's had a lot of good feedback and a lot of good turnouts in that way. And same with like RFS and dudes. Like I've had multiple guys choose to reclass now. If they don't get their Ranger tab, or whatever, the bottom 5%, and I'm like, hey, you're a good dude, and you don't have any like blips on your radar, but obviously you're struggling a little bit with Ranger school or whatever. Have you ever thought about being a rigger, or you ever thought
Right.
about being a ammo, whatever that is, or a NBC dude, chemo, and I've had I think I've had 4 reclass to NBC.
So So you've got guys that, let's say, came in 11 Bravo, 11 Charlie, whatever, that come to you. They go through RASP. They just don't fill the bill for what the regiment and one of the battalions could see as fulfilling that role. So let me reclassify you to a 35 series, or a mechanic, or whatever the case, a cook, or
Putting people first, right?
Yeah.
and that's what we're doing, and that's what we're trying to echo is that, hey, we want to take care of you.
Yeah.
You work to get here, and probably belong here, just in some other capacity, and putting people in Ranger first is.
But even to the point of, all right, you maybe are 11 series, you make it through RASP, you're inside battalion, but you're still not cutting it. Again, putting people first and going, hey, listen, you've washed out of Ranger school, and but rather than letting you go, we're willing to reclass you, or the person comes forward and says, I'm willing to reclass so that I can remain. So they don't have to go and get their Ranger tab.
Well, if you want to be a senior leader,
Yeah.
eventually you're
Eventually.
going to have to get your Ranger tab.
Right.
But if you're a young,
But we can buy you some more time.
if you go pack parachutes and
Yeah.
reclass, yeah.
I think that's a great plan. I always think about Durham and Thompson, who are in our arms room. Durham was in the arms room because he was injured in an actual combat jump because he's a badass.
Stud.
But we had this guy, Dan, and he was always in the arms room, and same kind of thing, wasn't the right fit to be on the line, but he was phenomenal in the arms room, and nobody kicked him out, RFS'd him, anything like that. He was really good at that job, and he stayed in that position a lot longer than he should have at that time for the standards we had. But he was there for years and years, and he was awesome in the arms room. That was like exactly where he was supposed to be and where he could contribute the most to the team. So it's really cool that they're.
I think we're doing a lot better job, and I know in our battalion with our sergeant major, we definitely are with talent management. Like we have meetings about that, and we try to bring those young guys in and offer them other opportunities, and instead of just some guys just don't belong there.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like they are trying to put Ranger first, and and take care of guys and not just, cut sling load on them and let them go like old school. Like definitely, like I said, it's just got to be a holistic mindset change. And that's the direction that we're starting to head in.
That's amazing. And it really speaks very highly of you guys to think about it in that way, because like you said, you could attrit, you can get a lot of people out of there, but then trying to fill it in the front end is going to be that much more challenging, especially for those other MOSs. So if you can find people who are willing to do that and they meet the other qualifications, like, typically as a leader, you're evaluating people. Is it a training deficiency? Is it a desire and a passion that's missing? Is it, what is the reason why this person is not holding the standard, holding line?
Yeah. And, we're talking about like when I was a RASP cadre, I know I was a nightmare for people to wake up to. I mean, admittedly, and hell, I'd brag about it,
Yeah.
Because that was like how, when I went through RIP, I mean, that's
how it was done. That's how we got
there.
Yeah.
That was Shannon's mentality. Like, you don't want me to be here, and I don't want you to be here. And who wants it worse? And, that's how I selected dudes, I did, the hazing and stuff wasn't there like it was, we definitely, but we crushed,
Obviously, people will remember.
And,
you don't want to do PT with Belford, as modest as he is.
But maybe back then. Nowadays, I'm just trying to keep from injuries.
Yeah.
But we crushed like we did, and we weren't the RASP cadre that we have in today. Their mentality and minds are better than mine ever was, and the guys, because those new RASP cadre guys, they're on a different mentality of like, okay, they're assessing this guy, or they're assessing them at an organizational level now, and they're like, can you fill this billet for us now? They do boards with them, and they're like, hey, like, this is what your peers are saying, and you're physically cutting it, and you got the right scores here and there, but by our assessment and your peer assessment, you're not going to be 11 Bravo maybe. But let's what about like this job, and then we bring our retention guys in, and we drive their career in that direction, and that's that's like the definition of leading and developing, and those guys are starting that in those young guys' careers, like right off the bat, which is awesome. And it's something that, I humbly say, like, we did not do when I was there. And, if you weren't physically fit and if you didn't, look the part, you had to look the part. If you didn't look the part and you weren't physically fit, like, just going to see what it took to drop you.
Yeah. And well, it was survival. Like, it was a survival process. I remember RIP. You just have to make it to the end without injuries and keep your head down, because the standard's damn near impossible. So just get through it. It's like a freaking POW camp. And forced marches, and I think it was good, but I don't think that builds the culture that you want. And I think
it didn't.
Investing in people.
Well, I have to cut you off there because I don't. At the time, it may have built the culture that you needed
at that time. Yeah, sure.
Yes.
That's a.
I think it was effective.
It's a sinking ship, but
no. But most of that was done during the Cold War era. Very different mindset, very different, culture and stuff within, battalion, that time frame.
Right, and we had one thought process, and that was win a war.
Yeah,
and
we didn't think that war was going to take 20 years either.
No, we definitely didn't.
So I think with it didn't matter. It's like, get them in the fight fast, make sure they can fight, make sure they're durable in a fight, and they need to be smart enough to be trained.
Yeah, and that's all I need.
And it was effective.
Yeah, but
obviously.
But did it go from RIP to RASP though because of the war? In other words, I'm saying that it was RIP was Cold War era up to the war, and then over time, it's like, okay, we've got to make an adjustment here. Is this really what we're...
Well, I think we realized that the war was going to carry on, and we were looking at manning issues, and we're looking at like losing guys. Like you said, a guy fails Ranger School, but he might have 3 good deployments and nothing but good things in his career, and now he's off the team.
Well, and then there's this too, right? What's RIP stand for? Ranger Indoctrinational Program, right? So I'm trying to indoctrinate you into my way of life, basically. And that's a one-track mind that I'm assessing.
Yes.
Now I'm assessing and selecting somebody who can think on their feet, who can is trainable, who's physically fit, who can do the basics really well, or can be trained to do the basics really well. And I don't want somebody who's indoctrinated into exactly what I want. I want somebody who can, at the end of the day, be like, that's not right, or this is how this can be better, and I don't care what rank you are to tell me that. And there's a difference in like what we had then and what we're looking for now.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting that a little better now.
I wonder and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but like, has the addition, I mean, sure, there was cooks and other MOSs and stuff, but now has the MI battalion also kind of, really started, making Regiment realize that we do need to make those assessments. Every role is very critical, and it is hard to fill these positions. So if we can retain, I don't know, I'm just wondering because, before that, maybe you didn't have that sight, that line of sight.
No, I think we started. I mean, the MI battalion, they're awesome at what they do, and they're awesome people. I have very good friends that work over there, but I think it started before that because I've seen the riggers struggle to pack their chutes and stuff, and we outsource help and so on. And so I think it started earlier than that, and rightfully so. And then we started getting the old school mentality leaders kind of out of those key positions, and the new age leaders that we have now, and probably the last couple in those right key leadership positions that knew that the old school mindset was wrong. And that when they got to a place to affect change, they did exactly what they said they were going to do, and they affected the change.
And maybe the old school mentality wasn't wrong, but it's just that there are more effective ways. The mission's changed. The people you work with have changed. I mean, think about the difference between the first time Rangers set foot in Afghanistan in 2001 and now. You show up in Afghanistan in 2001, you're working with Ranger. That's it. And then, fast forward to when we were serving, we might be with any branch of service, and they might be integrated into our team. They might be somebody that we work with just on a few mission sets. And now it's even more integrated. So these concepts didn't exist, for when you talk about the old school, like the high and tight guys and this is the way and it's the only way. It's effective in combat because you're relying 100% on your training, but combat's changed too. It's not lining up and shooting at each other, man. A lot
more than sight pictures outline. You got the whole time change thing, like the holistic change. From how people treat each other to how we lead with humility and lead by example to how we lead because I told you to do it.
Yeah.
I'll follow somebody that wants to be out in front and wants to, lead me into, hell with a toothpick before I'll follow somebody who'd be like, hey, go do this because I said so. Yeah. Back in early, my days, your days, I would have done it just because
Definitely
I said do it. But,
we had to. Yeah.
But,
and that's not to say that those, I think every leader, unless I'm forgetting somebody that I ever served with, they would lead from the front. They were willing to do that.
Yes,
I don't want to give that impression.
No, definitely not. And that's what I'm talking about, like the holistic thing. Like, there have been, issues in the Army in general that I said that, and we see
military,
that,
period, whatever.
Yeah, it's so bad. Yeah. And I wasn't being specific on that area, in today's Army, like I was saying before, you have to be the change, and then you have to do what you can to affect the change.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I want to hit on further on that, and I'll tell you why. Because how many times do you hear guys, and maybe not in battalion, but I see it within different branches of the military, man, I'm getting out of here. this place sucks. It's not what I thought it was. The Army's changing or the Air Force is changing or whatever. But you just made a couple of comments around that. You want to affect change or you want to make change. You've got to stick around so that you can do that. You affect the change. And a lot of times it's more about what you can control. Change what you have the power to control and stop worrying about the things that you can't control. You can't change the entire army, but you can make a difference for the people right there in front of you.
Yeah, that's stoicism. It's so important.
Yeah, and I like Sergeant Major J philosophy is like, what's Ranger 2055 look like, and what are we doing right now to affect the change for that Ranger? And that's, if you're sticking around as a leader, like you're on board.
Yeah,
you've already bought into the how things are going to be and how things need to be, and from there on, what you're doing is what's going to affect those changes. So, I gave a little speech, I guess you would say, last night at Ronnie's
Ronnie
Kubik's dedication for this monument piece of art that a lady did. Her name's Bunny. Did a great job. And
where can we see that, by the way?
Right now it's going to be. They're trying to get it in the Infantry Museum right now. So cool. There's a working for that. So
nice.
Like
that's
Gold
cool.
Star family type thing, but that's just outside my wheelhouse. I just hearsay. Okay. But if you want to see it personally, you can see one that they gave to us for Deco.
Cool.
And it's going to be hanging in Deco Company.
Very cool.
So they presented me with that one last night, which was very honorable. To be hanging that up next week.
Yeah.
But I said that I got this from Ronnie, but I said it last night. I'll say it again. He would say, "You have till 6:30 to stop your bitching, and then from 6:30 on, it's time to be a Ranger." And I didn't really. I was like, "Oh, what an asshole!" Like at first, right? He just kind of like put any stock into it, and the more leaders, development I got and moving on, like it started to come full circle, and I was like, man. And now where I'm at, I'm like, holy shit! Like now I understand what that means.
Yeah.
And that was an E5 in 2009 saying that. Like what? Like how far ahead of his time was he already? Which is pretty awesome when you stand and think about giving chill bumps. That's pretty awesome. So, and what that comes down to is like he didn't want anybody complaining, because if you don't like what's going on, then do what you need to change it and make whatever you're about to do better. Like the AR comments, make your voice heard. Like instead of complaining about it, do something to change it. And that's what you're talking about, Rob. And that's where he was already at in 2010, which is super awesome to think about now.
Yeah, I think, I've said it a lot of times back in the day, and I still say it as a leader, that if you want to affect change, then bring a solution forward, not presenting the problem. And, it's been talked about and written in books and everything else. So it's not Robert's, philosophy or whatever on leadership. I mean, it's just what, like you were talking about, he's putting it into perspective for his men at that time frame to understand and get it, in a very harsh way. But we've got a job to do here, let's go forward. But the truth is, again, if you want to affect change, and if you want to do something, then figure out first, spend all that energy and time on trying to develop a solution in a way that you could make it better or improve upon it, and offer that as a suggestion.
That's right.
Now, understand that not every recommendation is going to be accepted as well.
Well, that's that's one of the problems that people don't like, right?
Right.
Because they're like, well, I gave you my solution. Like you and 400 other people,
Right.
But that's why we do Class AARs, bud.
Yeah. But they may not see enough of the big picture to understand the reason why, or it could be a timing thing or something of that nature. But hey, if nothing else, maybe as leaders, we can give constructive criticism back to say the reason why I'm not recommending or moving forward with your recommendation is because of these reasons. And that person may have not have thought about it that way. So go back. Don't get just, down on yourself. Go back again.
We owe that to people as leaders to give them that feedback too.
Yeah.
Instead of just cutting them off.
It gives them a greater understanding of what they're trying to accomplish. I can remember many times I'd be like, why do we do this thing this way? And why is it? And I'd raise those concerns, and I would learn something that I was ignorant of. And I'd understand the process better, and now I'm more effective.
Yeah, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and now I know that change should not be implemented.
How long did you figure that out, though? You don't know what you don't know. I mean, most of the time we all think we got it figured out when we're really young, and it's like, man, I'm just needing you.
I relearn that lesson every day.
Yeah.
Every time I go do something, I'm like, oh, wow, yeah. Oh, well, now that's why that works that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't do that again, or let's continue to do that. And back to the RASP thing, like the AR comments, and that's how things got better.
Yeah.
That people that could affect change started listening, started affecting change, and classes started getting better. And I was, like you said, Paul, I probably owe that apology tour,
You and me both, man.
But that's just how I was then. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, you could judge me for who I was then, or you could, judge me for who I am now.
I don't think, though, the comments that I read along the lines of what a pain in the ass that guy was. It was more a pain in the ass, but look at what it made me, and I'm so proud. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it wasn't complaints.
No, it wasn't.
No.
It was a complaint, but in a.
But when I read those, though, like now in my thought process mentality, when I read some of those comments, I'm like, God, man, I was an asshole. And people are like, man, that guy, like, and I really appreciate those comments, 100%, man, I really do. And when my son would send me pictures of them, or somebody would text me a comment, I'd giggle about it. But then, it just kind of made me think, like, man, I'm really glad that person. I'm thankful that person took that out of what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And it didn't affect them negatively.
No, I saw a smile on every single one of them. Whether they put it the emoji or not, I could see that they were like hearkening back to a memory that thank you for bringing back, thank you for bringing Belford forward, that brought a memory to me in a moment of time, and a leader, a true leader that taught me something. That's the kind of comment, whether they stated it or not, you could just read it from it. It was never anything of that guy Belford, man. If I ever see him again, I'm going to punch him right in the face.
I used to tell people when I went from being a RASP cadre to a CERT cadre, the pre-ranger, I would, because I had, because I was there that time, 2 years, I had the same guys. Some of them would make it through my CERT class, and I loved being a CERT instructor, man. That was an awesome time, and I would stand out in front of the class and I would be like, hey, look, if you guys had me as a RASP cadre, I'm just going to apologize now. Not the same dude. Because I can see heads turning in this formation already going, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So, I'd tell the dudes up front because it was a mentality thing. And I tell people this all the time. Nobody goes to work to fail, and I wanted to go to work, and I felt like I'd been charged to do a job, with the best of my ability, and to assess the people that I knew that I wanted to run alongside me and close with and destroy the enemy. And everybody that was there with me at the time felt that they were doing the exact same thing. There was no that I saw like malicious intent in things that we did or done or said. It was more of a like we at the time, and I keep saying that emphasis because I would never probably act like that again. Given the opportunity to do it again, I would definitely assess it in a different situation, a different way. But at the time, the Rangers we had lost together, the guys that we were there, the Rangers we lost together, the deployments that we had, the hardship that we had shared, and all those things that we had already seen, done, heard, and been through, we were just focusing on, is this the guy that can survive those things too?
Yeah.
I want to teach and train this guy in week 5, 6, 7, and 8. But right now, is this the guy that I'm selecting that can do those things beside us too, and survive, and then be able to go home to his family at the end of the day?
And I think to your credit, and those who were my RIP instructors, it worked. That method it is effective. It's not the best method, but I don't think you did any of those people a disservice once they were faced with those hard situations, because they were. All the guys you put through, they were still doing multiple combat rotations. So it's not as if you you did these guys dirty, or that the old way wasn't useful. It's just, those are the tools that we had, and now we have better tools.
Yeah.
And it's much more effective. I was talking to Sergeant Major Jay as well, and the effectiveness of these new programs is unbelievable. I mean, some of the feedback I guess they're getting, I never thought that these things were possible, to get that much retention, to get that high quality, high caliber individual from point A to point B, where he's serving in a special operations unit so effectively. I mean, it's working.
Yeah. And it's good to see the change and the progress too.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you coming back on and talking to us once again.
No, it was great. I appreciate you guys having me here. I'm looking forward to, hearing some feedback, and I think the people that thanked me and made their comments and had you guys get me back out here, and anything I can do or say or help somebody every day is what I want to try to do. And any hardship that I've shared or struggled through in my life, and got me to where I'm at, and I can share that with other people and tell them that, hey man, it's going to be all right. And there's no shame in like getting help, and, there's nothing wrong. There's strength in unity with, sharing your hardship with other people. And no matter what you've done, somebody else, maybe not right beside you, but around has had the same struggles in life or is having the same struggle in life. And there's nothing wrong with getting the help that you need and talking to people. And you don't have to always go see a counselor, or you don't have to always, go see the chaplain or whatever, but just, hey man, hit up your Ranger buddy or hit up your friends and be like, hey, can we go have a cup of coffee or whatever, and just enjoy some shared hardship together. And anything I can do to help that is what I'm trying to do now in life. I'm coming close to that retirement next 3 years, and we talked on the last podcast like what's next for Jason Belford, and I know now what's next, and I'm going to go be a ROTC instructor up at Appalachian State University.
Cool.
And I'm looking forward to that move up there. It's going to be hard leaving the battalion. It's going to be super hard. But at the end of the day, I think I'm going to be able to go up there and influence those young college kids the best I can, and hopefully give them some bright
Go do some charter time.
So those ROTC guys at Appalachian State, you may want to go read the Instagram post and all the stories of what he was like back then. Get ready.
ROTC.
Get your 2-quart.
Bring your 2-quart.
But it's going to be a great job. I'm so looking forward to it. And it's going to be a good transition, I think, for me and the family, getting out of the Army and coming off the gas a little slower.
Yeah.
And then just taking your foot off and jumping out the door. So
That's cool.
That's wise.
I'm pretty excited about it, and
Congratulations.
Yeah,
man.
congratulations.
That's freaking
hope they'll
awesome.
be able to continue to share my story and help people out up there and continue to serve others. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, well, you affected the NCO Corps, or those that became part of NCOs, and now you're going to affect the officer corps, from at least one university.
Yes, sir. Hopefully.
Give them a little bit of the old school, man, for me. Just a little bit.
Well, I mean,
The cadets deserve it.
where you at, PL?
All right, awesome, man. Thank you so much again.
Appreciate you guys. Thank
Okay.
you.